Hello, greetings. This is Dr. Doom, reporting live from his laundry room with the green thing behind him. Yeah. So, I told you I did 5 videos the other day, a 5-part video of just a small piece of the Webbot report, about a third of what I read, and it wasn't all of the 1/3 that I read, it was just parts of that, a lot of it actually, that was, I thought was important that I needed to, reread and kind of comment on. So I read another third of it yesterday, and then I read the rest of it, the last third of it today, a little while ago. This is a very interesting Webbot report. A lot of details in it, a lot of different stuff. As I suspected, and I said that in the other video, I would have to sit here and read the whole 50 pages of it to you to really tell you the important stuff that's in there. Excuse me. So I can't do that. So I'm going to think about it tonight. Tomorrow I'll maybe go back over the pages that I read that I remember standing out, and maybe just try to do a few of them. But it's like, okay, all right, this is a good paragraph starting right there, and then it keeps going, goes into the next thing, goes into the next thing, goes into the next thing. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm on the 3rd page now of one thing that I want to just read a paragraph or two of. Now I'm on the 3rd page. Now I'm on the 4th page of that. It's kind of transitioned into something else that's kind of related and important to that. So I'm thinking in my head, I can't read all that as one little thing and then move on to something else to, read more. It's just, there's a lot of stuff in there that's good stuff. If you got $10, get the report. Plain and simple. halfpasthuman.com. Cliff High, for all the money he spends monthly, $10 is nothing. If it was $20 or $30, I would buy every one of them too. I don't care. But anyways, some things off the top of my head are going to be, there's absolutely going to be more earthquakes this year. We'll probably, like last year in 2010, there was 22, if I recall, 22 7.0 or higher Richter scale earthquakes. As far as my research, I didn't go back too awfully far, but off of the government, USGS website, the average is about 14 or 15 a year. I haven't seen any years where there was like 20 even, I don't think, if I recall. We had 22 last year. We had the flooding incidents last year around July and August or so that flooded out 20 million people in Pakistan, 5 million in China, 60, 70,000, something like that in North Korea, all within a span of about 3 weeks of each other. That's unprecedented. This year we start off with a bang in Brazil, landslide flooding over there. We've already had 3 7.0 or higher, 7 point somethings earthquakes in January of 2011. We're still in January. We got a day left or whatever, or a couple days, whatever the heck. Yeah, 31 days in January. So, we got 4 days left. So, anyways, other stuff that was in there, there's more than I'm going to tell you right now because my memory isn't even retaining all the stuff that was in there that I was like, oh yeah, I need to talk about that. That's why I usually make little marks on the I print it out and then make marks on it to, recapture that. Or I'll open up a blank document on my computer and start typing my own notes about things as I go along. Usually that takes a lot longer than just highlighting a couple pages and then saying, okay, start reading here, stop reading here. But China is going to have its hands full with its own revolution type problems. It's going to have food shortages too. There's going to be flooding. There's going to be all kinds of problems in China. Their government's going to come to the realization that the game is over. The whole brutal dictatorship regime of cracking down on people, it won't even fly, when it gets to a certain level. And they'll recognize that we already know that. We've been known that, or been knowing that, and it's now here, so we're not going to actually fight it to the extent that the world might think we are, is what my take on that one area of the Webbot report was saying. There's going to be problems here in our own country. There's absolutely going to be food shortages. That's going to be a global problem, by the way. Flooding is going to be a huge issue with that. That's tied into that, as well as freezing problems, weather problems related to killing crops, as well as the sun radiation, extra amounts of radiation getting in and causing problems with plants also that will probably start to grow, and then okay, it kind of looks healthy, and then all of a sudden it doesn't bear any fruit, or that kind of thing. That was actually more detail than that in a previous report, but they touched on it again in this report, so I know it's referring to the same thing. there's going to be an incident north of D.C., Washington, D.C., and based off of what I read, and this is one of the areas where he hinted, as he said in an earlier report, you're going to come across some places where I hint about something, and you're going to wonder, well, why didn't he just tell us? He's clearly not telling us the rest of the story on purpose. And he said, well, the reason is going to be because I don't want the elite or the powers that were, as he's now calling them, the powers that be, or now the powers that were, finding out potential outcome to them or some things that are going to be happening to give them a heads up. So he's purposely not stating exactly what he needs to state. So I got to one of those sections, and there's going to be an incident in north of Washington, D.C. From the gist of what I understand, it's going to be a mob or, a big giant protest that gets ugly, a lot uglier than anyone would imagine or even predict. And then it kind of spills over into surrounding areas with political unrest, and then it kind of spills over into more areas in this country. And he said something about the whole, H-O-L-E, in all capital letters. And the way he wrote it, I forgot what the sentence was, but he said, it's going to be labeled like the whole incident. And the way he worded it was, you should have spelled it W-H-O-L-E, as in like the whole thing, W-H-O-L-E. But he spelled it H-O-L-E, and it was all capital letters. So either the H stands for something, the O stands for something, the L stands for something, the E stands for something, or whole, as in a hole in the ground, actually makes sense. And he highlighted all of them just for whatever reason. I don't know, because again, he did that on purpose, but I'm just speculating here. And believe me, we're going to know it when we see it, kind of thing, is how it's going to be. There is going to still be diaspora in multiple places, multiple countries, lots of people either fleeing on their own. Matter of fact, I just remembered, Europe, partially, a lot of it's going to be Chinese or Asian women leaving due to no economy, destroyed economy, collapse of the European system, freezing weather, freezing lands that don't seem to want to stop freezing, so people migrate away from there down to southern, parts of Europe, along with mass, immigrants who were in Europe now leaving, going back, and one of them being Chinese, going back home. Not to say that they're going to go to a much better place, but that's what's going to happen. In the U.S., there is going to be, in what I understand, the Gulf of Mexico region areas, there's going to be something that happens, whether it's still tied to the Gulf of Mexico oil spill, which it appears there was language in there that it is tied to that, as well as whatever reason, some kind of water event, if you want to call it that. And as the old reports were saying, there's going to be this global coastal water event that causes massive fleeings of millions and millions of people, which we all expected from the Gulf of Mexico incident, which never happened. There was people fleeing around the right time frame for that, the prediction to be true last year for Pakistan during those floods, but it had nothing to do with the 40-degree latitude. This will have to do with the 40-degree latitude going to and above that where people flee to. And he's saying that there's going to be, due to these flooding lands, there's going to be bridges underwater. An airport, specifically a large airport or some type of airport, I don't know if it's a large airport, but a known airport will be underwater, basically, in the United States. There's going to be flooding all over the place again. And there's going to be these nomadic people that stem from all this flooding that decide we're not leaving. The government told us to leave. They actually told us we have to go. We have to leave these certain areas around the Gulf of Mexico, I guess. And these people decide, no, we're staying F off, and kind of create a nomadic water lifestyle. Now, I don't know if I commented on it, but either maybe 2 or 3 WebBot reports ago, maybe 4, there was some detail in there about that. These nomadic people and waterways going down cities where, like in waters, like you would like in Italy or whatever that is, with the sticks and the boats. People using clotheslines, or not necessarily clotheslines, but like they throw rope from building to building, tie it up somehow, and then use the rope to pull their boats as a faster way than rowing or something. That was in the older reports. That's still in the works. It's still in the data. It's still coming. And these people have at first a large casualty rate, I guess, trying to adapt to this new lifestyle. And I wasn't quite sure if he meant like they're going to fight the government and there's going to be a large casualty because they've refused to leave, or they just decided we don't want a part of wherever society's heading. We don't care that this whole area's underwater. We're going to live here. We'll go into some of these abandoned buildings. We'll fish. We'll just do that. that's basically what I think the language in the report was referring to. Not a fight with, you know, military against the people kind of thing. It was, I'm pretty sure it meant they're still telling the government, leave us alone. You can tell us to leave all you want. We're not. And then they just decide, okay, we're staying here. And then it doesn't work out too well for them at first. There's a fairly significant casualties within that nomadic water people, whatever movement. But they rapidly adapt, as a human nature or animal instinct would have it, to their surroundings and quickly figure out how to make it work. And then after that point of the first big casualties of not working out too well, they grasp it and work with it, and it becomes a new thing of its own, and people start to stand back and say, huh, I kind of like that. You know, these guys got it. These guys know what they're doing, or they kind of got it right. They're dealing with it good. You know, something like that. Trying to think of what else. I mean, there's a lot on there. It's just I just got done reading it, just got done taking a shower, so there's a lot of interesting stuff that I was like, yeah, I can't wait for that to happen. Ooh, that's a good sign. The banksters, the government. There was a section in there, and again, there was a lot of detail in like 4 reports ago about this next thing. They just kind of briefly touched on it again. It's still in the data. It's still going to happen. It's not a miss because it's still in the data. And that was these political and bankster minions class, you know, the worker bees of the elite, and some of the elite, of course, and their families being sought out by people for the crimes that they've committed. People realize after everything's been destroyed, the dollar's destroyed, everything's destroyed, they want payback. I mean, then these people have lost it. They want payback.